Hello my lovely arty crafty people, and today we are here just before we go into the weekend and I start this week's lesson and homework on my DiScArDeD project. I thought we'd do a quick walkthrough of my book so far. It's already gator mouthing, but that's absolutely fine because it's got a lot of textiles in it. So we'll start, just check you can see that on the video. Yep, okay, so we'll start with the title page, which I did right back in August, and I used a variety of DiScArDeD materials, fabrics, a bit of crochet, some sewing, hand sewing, buttons, the machine stitching, and my scrap roll. Then here is my mind map. Now for my mind map, I have these mind maps. So this was the initial one I did in my DiScArDeD journal. So I've kept that and I've popped it in this one. I've got a list of artists I've found and that I'd like to look at, but I think there's also some coming in the lesson notes. And then just kind of splitting it into nature, fashion, people, household waste. So this is just some more ideas of mine. It's just on some scrap paper. So I've popped that in a little plastic wallet so that it's there, and I can add to this wallet as I think of more things I want to do, maybe some different techniques I use. And then to actually create the mind map, I harvested images of words from magazines, and you'll see I've done like a word cloud for each group. So this is rubbish. Then we've got like a word cloud looking at the nature, a word cloud here looking at the colour and the techniques and all the different vocabulary, stolen, discarded. So a word cloud for fashion, buildings and people. And then I have got a bit of space, I can add some more. The background is the inside of an envelope. This is like the magic paper that teachers use, and some other scrappy papers out of my book. And these little flowers are just die cut from cereal boxes. So more DiScArDeD materials. Going into my mood boards, this is where my experience with junk journaling and collaging has all come in. So over here, I've created a pocket. Hang on. Oh, why is that stuck down? That's stuck to the double-sided tape that's holding the pocket in place. So I've created almost like a pocket flap, and that image has stuck down. Let's just peel that off and stick the pocket back down. So this was a magazine picture of some picture frames. I've got a DiScArDeD sheet of paper with some birds on it, collected some receipts, some tickets, some tags, clothing tags, and I've just created a little tag out of stamping on book paper, some varying paper scraps just out of my scrap drawer. So they sit in the pocket, and using the paper clip just holds them in place. This is just a sheet of old book paper, and as we saw, we've got that bird image and the paper scrap, so they all just sit in that pocket. I've got some vintage buttons that I've just sewn on to a cluster with some ribbons, some tape, bubble wrap. I've got varying bits of fabric that kind of match the colours out of my fabric scraps. I've got more harvested words, a feather that I picked up, a tablet, and then the background, it has just been harvested from magazines. Then I've got this pocket, which I have cut out of some card, some scrapbook paper card that I've got, and I've made it as a pocket and pop it in the binder. It's got some postcards of some shells, some old pattern fabric, lovely little hint of what we've got there. And then in here we've got some different artists, kind of just quick research that I found. So Barry Rosenthal, if you remember, I looked at him in my DiScArDeD journal, and then I found some images of designers that have designed outfits from sea pollution. And then while doing a little bit of research, I found this lovely artist, Edgar Artis, and he uses paintings of women or men, and then he uses discarded items to complete the image, almost creating a collage. And then I found varying catwalk items that kind of match with his. This was another artist I looked at in my DiScArDeD journal, Sophie Munns. So she is an Australian artist, and she uses the seed pods that she finds around her to create these gloriously printed fabrics. And then just researching fabric with seed pod, I found Spoonflower, which has some lovely designs of clothing with seed pods. So they're just my initial thoughts on artists that are in the pocket. On this side of the pocket, I've got an old tea bag with some tea stain paper, got some matte paper, this lovely postcard, which is a skeleton, so it's discarded bones with flowers growing through, and this image of a painting by Cropsey. Okay, and 135,000 that's worth. Seriously, we need to be artists. And then just more magazine harvested images. That's rather cute, but I liked it because he's got like compost as a sandwich, more text, and just pulling together loads of ideas of what we could look at. Then we went into the colour wheel, which you hopefully have seen the video on. So I just explored colour using watercolours, explored the vocabulary we're going to be using, tinting and toning. And then we created a DiScArDeD palette. So for the DiScArDeD palette, I took some photos around me in my local area, and using Canva and the drop tool, I created these digital palettes. From that then, for each one, I've got some fabric swatches, I did some watercolour mixing, and a little blurb of what I did. Then to extend that a bit further, and this is going to probably take a little while to show, I created an extension project. So I took that image again, I've created a 3D manipulated fabric. So this is like a shiny fabric that I dipped in wallpaper paste, and then using my heat gun melted over these pebbles. I then attached some orange Satsuma bag, some netting, and put the beads back on top and melted them a bit together. I've got a more detailed fabric swatch. This was actually a piece of rust that I found in the car park of Aldi, and it's got quite a big bit, so I'm going to use that quite a bit, I think. And carrying down, so I did a larger watercolour in kind of a stained glass triangle effect. More fabric swatch, and then had a go at some Sashiko inspired, using the blues and the rusty orange, and a collage of buttons with actually a rusty piece in between. So that was my extension, and I've just done a write-up about how I have used that or come to those decisions. And then developing that a little bit further, I have a picture of that in my scrapbook, and then this I created using fabric scraps, and to mimic the watercolour palette, I've cut them out into triangles, and it was like a giant jigsaw puzzle trying to fit it all together. And then using my sewing machine, I've sewn around the edge with like a blanket stitch, and then I've sewn it in a grid method, just to hold everything down, also to give that other element of a colour on. So that's where we are so far. I'm not sure what the lesson is this week, or I think I've possibly covered it all. So my extension task, my bit more development that I'm going to do this week is some observational drawing. So I have those photos my friend sent me, and actually I can pop round and take my sketchbook with me and do some observational drawings. So I'm not sure if I'm going to use pen, pencil, I might use a varying medias, but I want to, hang on, just drop that on the floor. I want to just explore some observational drawings of these cigarettes, and then I'd quite like to create maybe just one fabric cigarette, a 3D model. I'm not sure yet, but this is where my ideas are taking me now. So I'm still using those images from my rusted palette, and I'm extending it a little bit further. So I hope you're enjoying this project. I'm absolutely loving it. It's really inspiring, and it's really nice to actually just get lost in something. So keep watching. I will upload this video as we're going into the weekend, and then we'll see where we go next week. Looking forward to it. Thank you.